Passé composé, the past tense. Partie 1. In this video, we're going to study the passé composé, the past tense. We're going to start off by reviewing the past tense in English, and then how to actually construct le passé composé, followed by guided practice, and then independent practice. English has a variety of ways of expressing the past tense. We can say I talked, we can say I did talk, we can also say I have talked. The third way, I have talked, is how the French construct le passé composé, their past tense. And to create le passé composé in French, you use the appropriate form of avoir, which means to have. And just to review, voilà les formes d'avoir. J'ai, tu as, il a, nous avons, vous avez, ils ont. As well as the ed form, or in grammar speak, the past participle of your verb. And because there are three groups of verbs, er verbs, re verbs, and ir verbs, there are three ed forms in French. Le passé composé and the ed forms are the past participles. So whenever you have an er verb, you change the er to a e accent aigu. And so you go from parler, écouter, danser, envoyer, étudier, chanter to parler, écouter, danser, envoyer, étudier, chanter. They sound the same in both instances. These verbs have their ed forms in English: talked, listened, danced, sent, studied, sang. To send and to sing in English are irregular. That's why it's sent and sang, not sended and singed. For re verbs, you convert the re to a u. So instead of attendre, entendre, vendre, perdre, and descendre, you have attendu, entendu, vendu, perdu, descendu. And again, since these are ed forms or the past participles, these mean waited, heard, sold, lost, and descended. For ir verbs, you change the ir to an I. So instead of having finir, choisir, réussir, applaudir, grossir, and maigrir, you have fini, choisi, réussi, applaudi, grossi, and maigri. And since when you convert the ir to an I, those are the ed forms of the verbs, they translate out to mean finished, chosen or chose, succeeded, applauded, fattened or got fat, and lost weight. So just as a review, to create the past tense in French, you need the appropriate form of avoir and the ed form or the past participle of your verb. So let's look at this example. J'ai parlé. J'ai parlé means I have talked, or you can also translate this to mean I talked or I did talk. To create the past tense in French, you need the appropriate form of avoir, which we have, j'ai. And you also need the ed form of the past participle of your verb, which we have as well, parler. Now remember, it's parler because parler in its infinitive is an er verb. And er changes to e accent aigu. So you go from parler to parler. Let's look at another example. J'ai attendu. J'ai attendu means I have waited. Or you can also translate this to mean I waited or I did wait. Now, to create the past tense in French, you need the appropriate form of avoir, which we have, j'ai, and the ed form of the past participle of your verb, attendu. Remember, it's attendu because the infinitive is attendre, an re verb. and RE verbs change to you. So you go from attendre to attendu. Take j'ai fini as another example. J'ai fini means I have finished. You can also translate this to mean I finished or I did finish. To create the past tense in French, you need the appropriate form of avoir, j'ai, and the ed form of the past participle of your verb, fini. It's fini because finir, the infinitive, is an IR verb. And IR verbs change to I. So you go from finir to fini. So for guided practice, let's watch how the following sentences are constructed to generate the passé composé in French. So as a sentence example, hier il a étudié la chimie. Yesterday he studied chemistry. Or you can say he did study chemistry or he has studied chemistry. Notice how I have the appropriate form of avoir, il a, and then étudier, since étudier is an ER verb. Hier, j'ai parlé à Paul. Yesterday, I talked to Paul. Or you can also translate this to I did talk to Paul, or I have spoken to Paul. It's parler, again, because parler in its infinitive is an ER verb. ER verbs change to E accent aigu, so you go from parler to parler. Hier, nous avons chanté une chanson. Notice how we have the appropriate form of avoir, and then chanter. Remember, it's chanter because chanter in its infinitive is an ER verb. You go from the ER to a E accent aigu, so chanter to chanter. Hier, Thomas a envoyé un email. Notice how we have our appropriate form of avoir. Thomas a, so il a, et puis envoyer. Envoyer is an ER verb. So ER verbs go to E accent aigu. So envoyer, envoyer. Hier, ils ont dansé avec les garçons. Hier, tu as attendu le bus. Hier, vous avez vendu le citron pressé. Hier, Paul et Claire ont entendu l'annonce. Hier, j'ai fini la répétition indépendante. Hier, tu as choisi la bonne réponse. Now for some independent practice. It'll be your responsibility to fill in the correct passé composé in the blank. La réponse correcte, c'est hier, il a entendu les instructions. Hier, j'ai fini le travail. Hier, nous avons écouté la nouvelle chanson à la radio. Hier, elles ont réussi à envoyer un email à Marie. Hier, tu as étudié pour l'interro dans le cours de chimie. Hier, vous avez attendu le bus pendant 45 minutes. So, just to review, to create the past tense in French, you need the appropriate form of avoir and the ed form or the past participle of your verb. The ed forms are different for er, re, and ir verbs. For er verbs, it's e accent aigu. For re verbs, it's u. For ir verbs, it's i. This is the general rule for most verbs in the French language. However, there are always exceptions. In the next video, Partie 2, we will review le passé composé, les verbes irréguliers, the verbs that, while they may be er, re, or ir verbs, do not follow the pattern.